So this is an good morning to one and all. This is our second lecture on the part of the hydrology, that is unit number 1 from the course hydrology and water resources engineering. We will go for the quick review that is the part which we have discussed in the last lecture. In the last lecture we have discussed about the hydrological cycle, its various components and their categories we had seen last time. So briefly we'll go for, so hydrology is nothing but the science of water, we can say, which deals about the its occurrence, distribution, etc. on the earth surface, in the atmosphere and inside the ground also, that is in the earth crust also. So this is a brief about the hydrology. The hydrological cycle is to have the various components, that is the evaporation, evapotranspiration, then formation of the clouds, then condensation of the clouds, and then precipitation. That precipitation may be in the form of rainfall, snowfall, drizzle, etc., etc. After the rainfall, that water is going to again join to the streams and rivers or the water bodies, and that some of the amount of the water is going to deep percolate inside the earth crust. That is nothing but the infiltration and percolation. And after getting deep percolated, that joins to the groundwater table, that is aquifers, and comes out from the suitable locations, that is through the springs, and again joins to the streams and rivers. And some of the amount of the water may get intercepted in the form of small reservoirs, ponds, then it may be getting absorbed by the crops, vegetation covers, etc. And after reaching to that places, that is in the water bodies, and absorbed by the plants and all those things, that is soil moisture, etc., it again evaporates from the water bodies and evapotranspirates from the plants of the leaves of the plants and the other trees, we can say. And after that evaporation and evapotranspiration, again there is a formation of the clouds. Then those clouds used to get condensate. Maybe they are getting transferred from one place to the another place by the wind, or they may condensate at that position only, and from that they undergoes the precipitation. It is through the condensation they again changes the phase from the water vapors to the droplets, either in the form of ice crystals, that is snowfall, we can say, or the rainfall, and this cycle continues. So that part we have discussed last time. Then after this cycle we have discussed its main components. It is a and we have categorized into, we have grouped those components into two groups. First one we had as a flow component, that is a transportation component, under which we have categorized the various elements of the hydrologic cycle as a precipitation, then evaporation, transpiration, infiltration, and runoff we have categorized under the transportation component, that is a movement component, we can say, or the flow component, we can say. And the second component which you have considered, that was the storage component, which includes the storage on land surfaces, storages on the land surfaces, it may be the detention and all those things. Then again it includes the soil moisture and groundwater, means whatever amount of the moisture it has been taken by, absorbed by, or it has been stored, in that case that is nothing but the storage component, means out of the total precipitation in the form of rainfall or snowfall, the amount of the that precipitation used to get absorbed, used to get stored, it's not get evaporates directly, and that remained amount we used to consider as a storage component. But after some time it gets evaporates, that is either from the storage of the land surface, that is reservoirs, ponds, etc., or soil moisture, we can say, it also gets evaporates, and the groundwater also, it joins to the streams and rivers, and then it gets evaporates, or it may remains there. So those are the component parts we have seen in the last lecture only. Then along with that, we had seen the we have summarized the things regarding the hydrological cycle. It is a formation of the vapors, then after the formation of the vapors, that is condensation, and that is after condensation and the evapotranspiration, there is a formation of the clouds. Then the clouds gets condensates, and through the condensation they again yields the precipitation in the form the rainfall or the snowfall or the tea, etc. And that cycle continues. Those are the things which you have noted over there. Then we had seen the water distribution on earth, that is how much amount of the water is therein, and it's a various proportions we had seen last time. Then potential of river basins in India as far as water is considered, that also we have seen, and that is total potential of the river basins in India is about 188 million hectares meter, and it's a distribution also we had seen in the previous lecture. Then we had seen the major aspects of hydrology, that is collection of the data, analysis of the data, and the prediction. Why to go for prediction and all those things we have discussed lastly. This is just a type of the brush up I am going for. Then we have seen the applications of the hydrology also, that is in the analysis and design of the various structures where we used to go for hydraulic structures. In that case, we are interested in knowing that how much amount of the water will be there in the monsoon season, and if we are going to provide that structure at a particular location, then how much amount of the water requirement is there from the locality, or we will be able to provide to the locality. So to know about all those things, it is important to deal about the hydrology. Again, for the forecasting of the floods, then for the forecasting of the peak rainfall, less rainfall, droughts, etc., etc., the hydrology is so much important. That is, study of the water and its appearance is so much important. Then after that, we had seen. Now we will start for the next part. That is the water budget. I think so. We have discussed this one also. History and importance we had seen. Then in the importance of hydrology, that is, this part was remained to explain in the previous lectures. Now we'll go for, so importance we can summarize here in to know about the precipitation. It is the proper planning of the storage in the reservoir. Just a minute, I will admit the persons here in, and then we'll go for next one. Okay, huh. So to know about the precipitation, why to know about the precipitation? That is for a proper planning of the storages in a reservoir to control the flood or to mitigate the droughts. It means that prior to the start of the monsoon or the rainfall, if we are able to know about how much amount of the water will be there through the precipitation, in that case, we can manage the various resources so much effectively. It means that before the start of the monsoon, if we are knowing that in the month of the June, so and so quantity of the water will be there through the precipitation. In the month of the July, so and so quantity will be available by the precipitation. So if we are knowing that amount of the precipitation, I will go for, if we are knowing about first type of the amount to receive in the monsoon season, in that case we are able to manage the things. Now for means, it means that we will be able to plan the storages. It means that at the, if we are knowing that there will be huge rainfall and we will have the abundant quantity in the reservoirs, in that case from the beginning itself we will regulate the reservoirs accordingly and will release the amount of the water from the our reservoir, that is through the dams, so that we will be able to maintain the maximum water level in the reservoir. On the other hand, if we will know about the amount of the water, that is less amount of the water we will receive in the monsoon season, in that case whatever the releasing schedule is there, that releasing schedule we will change accordingly. It means that we will control the release and we will try to concentrate on store maximum amount of the water in the reservoirs, so that though there will be a drought condition, we are going to come across that. Means we will be able to control the drought conditions. Now, what does it means about the mitigation? So mitigation is nothing but the coming over that. Means we are knowing that the flood is there. So how to mitigate that? Means how to overcome that flood condition. So to overcome the flood condition, we have to plan at the beginning of the monsoon itself or in between of the monsoon, that when we are knowing that, now we are knowing that in which month we will be getting the maximum amount of the water, that is a flood. So in that case, we are going to release the water from the reservoirs. So that is the part of the mitigations. Means we are coming over the situations. It means that we are coming over the situation, or we are trying to control, or we are trying to minimize the hazards of that. That is nothing but the mitigation part we can say here. So by knowing that, we will be able to now do that. Then next one, we can say the application of the importance of hydrology, to know about the groundwater recharge. So groundwater recharge, now we are knowing that we in India receives the rainfall in the monsoon season only, that is from June to the October. Okay, so in that period we used to receive the rainfall, and we have to continue, or we have to maintain that amount of the rainfall throughout the year, that is up to the end of the May we can say. So to maintain that, or to have any water throughout the year, it is essential either it to store on the ground surfaces or in the water bodies or any other structures we can say, or we should recharge the groundwater table. We should admit that water inside the ground, so that it is going to join the aquifers, and whatever the water bodies are there existing inside the earth crust, those water bodies will be get enhanced with the water. It means that that water content of the aquifers, of the cavities of the earth, will be get fulfilled, and we will be able to explore that water whenever we are required it, or whenever we are requiring it. So that is nothing but the groundwater recharge. So it means that again here, if we are knowing about that amount of the water which will be received in the monsoon season is abundant, in that case, instead of allowing it to get flow over in the rivers and streams and joining to the oceans and seas, we will obstruct that water. We will allow that water to store in between, and by constructing or by digging the some trenches, or by digging some pots, or some आपल्या भाषेमध्ये आपण असं म्हणू शकतो की ते पाणी पूर्णपणे आहे असं जमिनीवरून वाहून न जाऊन देता, म्हणजे डायरेक्टली समुद्राला मिळून न देता, जर का आपण इन बिटवीन कुठेतरी खड्डे खोदले किंवा बांध घातले किंवा चाऱ्या खोदल्या, तर त्या चाऱ्यांमध्ये ते आपण पाणी साठवून तिथं आपण ते जमिनीमध्ये मुरवू शकतो. आणि जर का जमिनीमध्ये ते आपण मुरवलं, तर आपण तिथं ग्राउंड वॉटर रिचार्ज करू शकतो. म्हणजेच जमिनीमधल्या पाण्याची जी क्वांटिटी आहे, that quantity we are going to increase, and for that also we must know about the hydrology. Okay, so we'll summarize this now. Then next one is to plan the water distribution for various purposes such as irrigation, drinking, industry, hydropower, etc. It means that after collecting the data of hydrological parameters, we are going to predict now how much amount of the rainfall will be there, and how much amount of water will be there inside the various reservoirs. And after knowing that amount in the reservoirs, we are going to plan for the distribution of the water for various purposes by giving the first priority or the highest priority for the drinking purpose, then other allied priorities. That may be the irrigation priority, that may be the industrial development, or that may be the hydropower generation. A number of the times we used to come across the news that the hydropower stations of the so and so dams has been stopped now. Why they used to stop the hydropower generation? Because whatever amount of the water they used to have in the reservoir, that goes below the level which is required for the maintaining the minimum reservoir capacity. That is for the specific purposes, that is a drinking and maintaining the aquatic lives. It means that by knowing such amounts, by knowing that precipitation amount, by knowing that amount in the reservoirs, we will be able to plan for the proper distribution of the water through the reservoirs. and for that the hydrology or the aspect of hydrology or the study of the hydrology is an essential one. Then now we'll go for the next part, that is the water budget equation or the water budget we can say. As like in our budgets, there is how much amount of the earning we will have and how much amount we have to spend. That we used to have as a proper. So as like that is a म्हणजे आपण काय करतो की आपल्याकडे किती पैसा अवेलेबल आहे आणि त्याचं प्रॉपर आपण प्लॅनिंग करतो, जेणेकरून आपल्याला नेक्स्ट टाइम तो पैसे आपल्याकडे येईपर्यंत आपण त्याचं व्यवस्थितरित्या आपल्याकडे तो मेंटेन करू शकू. Similarly, we used to have a water budget equation also. So water budget equation talks about the how much amount of the water we have and how much we have distributed for that. It means that the whatever the outcome is there, whatever outlet is there, whatever the net outcome we are getting, that outcome must match to the inputs. म्हणजे जेवढा आपल्याकडे इनपुट असणार, जेवढे आपल्याकडे सोर्सेस असणार, त्या सर्व सोर्सेसची जर का आपण सम घेतली तर ती आपली बरोबर आपल्या एक्सपेंडिचर एवढे बरोबर मॅच व्हायला पाहिजे. So likewise, we used to have a water budget. We'll see that now. What is that? For a catchment of a time interval delta t, it can be written as, means for a small catchment we can say. So before proceeding to that, I would like to clear the things. What does it mean about the catchment? So catchment is nothing but the area through which we are getting the water at its outlet. म्हणजे काय असतं तर एक एरिया किंवा एक रिजन असते ज्याच्यामध्ये पाऊस पडल्यानंतर ना त्याच्यामधलं सर्व पाणी आपल्याला एका कोपऱ्यामध्ये आपल्या भाषेमध्ये मिळतं किंवा एका आउटलेटला आपल्याला बेसिनला मिळतं किंवा ओढ्यामध्ये मिळतं. तो जो एरिया असतो ज्या एरियामधलं सर्व पाणी एकत्र होऊन शेवटी एका टोकाला किंवा एका एंडला बाहेर मिळतो, त्या एरियाला आपण कॅचमेंट एरिया असं म्हणतो. आय डोंट थिंक I have not remembered that. Maybe I have shown you that catchment by live in the class. How that catchment used to have, how the small tributaries, त्याच्या ज्या छोट्या छोट्या शिरा असतात तशा बरोबर कॅचमेंट मधले ते छोटे छोटे ओढे आणि छोट्या छोट्या हे असतात पार्ट असतात ते नंतर जॉईन होऊन शेवटी ओढ्याला किंवा नदीला मिळतात. Likewise, we used to have a catchment area. Okay, so for a small interval of time, a delta t, that the budget equation, water budget equation for the catchment may be written as delta S, that is the change in storage we can say, is equals to the precipitation. P stands for precipitation, R stands for the runoff, then G stands for the net groundwater flow, U stands for evaporation, and T stands for transportation. म्हणजे जे टोटल प्रेसिपिटेशन झालं, जो पूर्णपणे टोटल पाऊस पडला त्याच्यामधून जर का आपण रनऑफ मायनस केला, सबस्ट्रॅक्ट केला, ग्राउंड वॉटर रिचार्ज साठी गेलेलं पाणी आपण त्याच्यातून सबस्ट्रॅक्ट केलं, इव्हॅपोरेशन सबस्ट्रॅक्ट केलं, ट्रान्सपोर्टेशन सबस्ट्रॅक्ट केला, तर जो शिल्लक राहिलेला जो आपल्याकडे अमाऊंट असणार आहे दॅट्स नथिंग बट द चेंज इन स्टोरेज असणार आहे. म्हणजेच काय, आपल्याकडे 100 रुपये होते, 10 रुपयाचा आपण चहा घेतला, 10 रुपयाचा नाश्ता केला, त्यानंतर ना आणखीन आपण काहीतरी 20 रुपये कुठेतरी खर्च केले, म्हणजे टोटल आपण 40 रुपये एक्सपेंडिचर केले. म्हणजे चेंज इन स्टोरेज म्हणजे नेट अमाऊंट, म्हणजे जे डिप्रिशिएशन किंवा जे आपल्याकडे जे अमाऊंट डिडक्ट झाली ती किती असणार आहे, तर टोटल 100 मायनस 40 असणार आहे. म्हणजे 60 एवढं आपल्याकडे नेट शिल्लक राहिली. म्हणजेच नेट स्टोरेज जर का आपण बघितलं, सुरुवातीचं 100 होतं स्टोर अमाऊंट, म्हणजे आपल्याकडे अगोदरची असणारी अमाऊंट 100 रुपीज होती. त्याच्यामधून आपण काय केलं, वेगवेगळी लॉसेस इन द सेन्स काय, आपलं एक्सपेंडिचर आपण केलं. मग एक्सपेंडिचर आपलं हे वेगवेगळ्या टास्क साठी होतं. मग ते आपला चहा असेल, टी असेल, ब्रेकफास्ट असेल किंवा अदर एंटिटीज असतील. If we are going to deduct that expenditure from the whatever amount we had initially, in that case we know about the how much amount we have remained with us. Okay, so S stands for the storage herein. So net storage I'm talking about here. Net storage delta S means I have taken an example of 100 rupees. Means initially we have 100 rupees with us, and from this 100 rupees means now S, that is the storage. म्हणजे initially the amount which we had with us, consider S only here, that is 100 rupees. From that we have utilized 10 rupees for a tea, 10 rupees for a breakfast, and 20 rupees for the other things. It means we have an expenditure of a total 40 rupees. So if you subtract that 40 rupees from the net storage S, then we get the change in storage. That's a delta S we can say here. So time being म्हणजे आपल्याकडे जे शिल्लक राहिली जी अमाउंट राहिली ती किती राहिली आता 60 रुपीज राहिली. Similarly for the water budget also, for water budget equation we can say how much total amount of precipitation has been occurred. पूर्णपणे पाऊस किती पडला, समजा 100 मिलीमीटर पाऊस पडला, त्याच्यामधला जो रनऑफ होता तो रनऑफ समजा 10 मिलीमीटर झाला. ग्राउंड वॉटर जो रिचार्ज झाला किंवा जमिनीमध्ये जे पाणी मुरलं ते 10 सेंटीमीटर झालं. पुन्हा इव्हापोरेशन 10 युनिट झालं आणि ट्रान्सपोर्टेशन 10 युनिट झालं. मीन्स आउट ऑफ 100 युनिट्स ऑफ अ प्रेसिपिटेशन और अ रेनफॉल 1 2 3 4 means 40 units has been lost. And so we have a 60 amount of or 60 units out of the total precipitated unit with us. So that is nothing but the net storage we can see here. And if we talk about the change in storage, if we talk about a change in storage, then change in storage will be nothing but the initial amount minus the whatever the losses we have. So in general we can say that for a water budget equation, whatever the sum we used to get or whatever the subtraction we used to get after deducting all the losses from the net precipitation, then we used to get the net storage or the net amount which is available with us we can say. So this data is change in storage now. So the storage has a 3 components. So in general we can say that the storage S has a 3 components. While those 3 components are nothing but delta SS, that is a surface water storage. आता आपण net storage म्हणतोय. So net storage for the ground water we are for the water which is there on the ground surface that we are talking about, that includes the 3 parts or 3 components. So one first part or first component we can say it is a delta SS, that is a surface water storage. Delta SM, that is a storage as a soil moisture, and SG as a ground water. म्हणजे जे काही आपल्याकडे स्टोरेज असणार आहे पूर्णपणे वॉटर क्वांटिटी जी अवेलेबल असणार आहे त्या पूर्णपणे वॉटर क्वांटिटीचा जर का आपण विचार केला तर त्याच्यामध्ये कोणकोणते एलिमेंट्स असणार, तर वॉटर जे आपल्याला स्टोरेजेस मध्ये अवेलेबल असणार. सरफेस स्टोरेजेस म्हणजे काय, रिझर्वायर असेल, पॉन्ड असेल, लेक असेल किंवा आणखी वॉटर बॉडीज असतील त्याच्यामधलं पाणी असेल. देन डेल्टा SM, दॅट इज अ स्टोरेज एज अ सॉइल मॉइश्चर. सॉइल सुद्धा भरपूर प्रमाणामध्ये मॉइश्चर ऍब्सॉर्ब करून घेते, वॉटर ऍब्सॉर्ब करून घेते. सो दॅट क्वांटिटी ऑफ द वॉटर विच हॅज बीन ऑब्झर्व्ड बाय द सॉइल. अँड द नेक्स्ट पॅरामीटर इज SG, दॅट इज अ स्टोरेज ऍज अ ग्राउंड वॉटर. म्हणजे जमिनीमध्ये किती पाणी मुरलं गेलं आतमध्ये आणि ते त्या अक्विफर्स मध्ये, म्हणजे ज्या कॅव्हिटी आहेत जमिनीमध्ये आतमध्ये, आपण जे म्हणतो की जमिनीमध्ये खूप मोठे पाण्याच्या आतमध्ये कॅव्हिटी आहेत त्याच्यामधून पाणी विहिरीला लागलं म्हणतो आपण, म्हणजे झरा लागला म्हणतो. हे जे झरे जनरेट होतात, हे जे स्प्रिंग जनरेट होतात अंडर द क्रस्ट ऑफ अर्थ, दे यूज टू हॅव अ स्टोरेजेस इनसाइड इट. मग ते जे स्टोरेज असणार ह्या सर्वांची सम म्हणजे आपलं टोटल स्टोरेज झालं. जर का आपण याचं पॅरल एक्झाम्पल जर का आपल्या नेट अमाऊंट बरोबर घेतलं, म्हणजे 100 रुपीज बरोबर जर का घेतलं, तर त्या केसमध्ये आपण असं म्हणू शकतो की 100 रुपीज मध्ये आपल्याकडे 50 रुपीज आपल्याकडे नोट्स होते आणि 50 रुपीज आपल्याकडे कॉइन्स होते. म्हणजे ह्या दोघांची जी सम केली आपण, ती सम म्हणजे ऍट द लास्ट काय झाली तर आपलं टोटल अमाऊंट आपल्याकडे जी होती ती टोटल अमाऊंट झाली. So similarly, so total storage now here is have the 3 components, that is a surface storage, that is in the reservoirs, lakes, ponds, etc. Then storage as a soil moisture, म्हणजे जमिनीमध्ये असणारं पाणी, मातीमध्ये मुरलेलं पाणी. And third one is the storage as a groundwater. Okay, so this is about an simplified form of the water budget equation. Okay, so now we'll move for the next part. There is the precipitation now. Now, as we have seen earlier, that is the hydrological cycle, and the main component we can say of the hydrological cycle is nothing but the precipitation. Okay, so after evaporation and formation of the clouds and the condensation, we used to get the precipitation. So we'll see that now. What does it mean about the precipitation? Firstly, the precipitation म्हणजे फक्त पाऊस पडणे म्हणजेच precipitation नाहीये. So in common or in general we can say that the precipitation is nothing but Just a minute, I will admit those peoples and then we'll move further. So in general, we can say that the precipitation is nothing but the change of phase of the water, we can say, or change of phase of the water vapors to the either in the solid phase or in the liquid phase. It means that after the condensation process of the water vapors, either the formation of the droplets or the formation of the ice crystals, that is nothing but the precipitation. म्हणजे जे काही ढग आलेले आहेत, ज्या ढगांमध्ये जे मॉइश्चर कंटेंट आहे, त्या मॉइश्चर कंटेंटचं कन्व्हर्जन ज्या वेळेस ड्रॉपलेट मध्ये, पाण्यामध्ये किंवा बर्फामध्ये होणार आहे किंवा आईस क्रिस्टल्स मध्ये होणार आहे, ते त्याचं जे कन्व्हर्जन आहे वॉटर वेपर्सचं, दॅट इज नथिंग बट द प्रेसिपिटेशन. मग बऱ्याच वेळा आपण म्हणतो की आपल्याकडे पाऊस पडला म्हणजे रेनफॉल झाला. काही ठिकाणी आपण म्हणतो की बऱ्याच वेळा गारा पडल्या. गारा पडणे म्हणजे हा एक प्रेसिपिटेशनचा टाईपच आहे. म्हणजे तिथं काय झालं, पाणी तयार होण्याऐवजी व्हेपरचं डायरेक्टली क्रिस्टल्स तयार झाल्या. बऱ्याच वेळा आपण म्हणतो की बर्फवृष्टी झाली. बर्फवृष्टी झाली म्हणजे काय, तर डायरेक्टली त्या वॉटर वेपरचं कन्व्हर्जन त्या आईस मध्ये झालं. It means that whatever the conversion part we are getting from the water vapors through from the clouds, that is nothing but the precipitation. मग तो रेनफॉल असेल, तो स्नोफॉल असेल किंवा आणखी काय असेल. Okay, so we'll see now the definition of the precipitation. Firstly, precipitation, we can say that it occurs as a condensation of water vapors from the clouds. Means after the condensation of the water vapors from the clouds, whatever the output we are getting or whatever the yield we are getting, that output or that net output we can say is nothing but the precipitation. Okay, so this is an in general we can say. So now we will see that the various forms of precipitation. If you'll go thoroughly through the assignment booklet which I have prepared now, I am going to circulate it amongst you. I am going to paste it over our group. If you go through that, you will find that in the university question papers, the questions are there on either the types of the precipitation or the forms of the precipitation. Okay, so now firstly we'll see what are the forms of precipitation are there. So forms are nothing but in which form or in which phase that water vapors are going to come over the earth surface from the atmosphere. So from the atmosphere, after condensation, the water vapors are going to reach to the ground surface or earth, and they are going to reach in various forms. Those forms are nothing but the forms of precipitation. So we'll see them one by one. But we'll summarize and they will say one by one. Various forms are drizzle, rainfall, glaze, snowfall, hail, frost, and dew, and snowflakes. So those are in general, those are nothing but the forms in which that precipitation or occurs over the earth surface, or the condensation of the water vapors. Condensation of the water vapors changes to the those form, that is either in drizzle or a rainfall or a glaze or snowfall or hail or frost and snow flakes. Okay, so the rainfall out of all those things, means whatever the various forms are there, out of that in Indian continent we can say rainfall and snowfall is the major contributors for the condensation process, we can say. So rainfall and snowfall contributes a significant amounts of the water. Means after the out of all those forms of the precipitation, म्हणजे कंडेन्सेशन झाल्यानंतर ना वेगवेगळ्या प्रकारामध्ये ती कंडेन्सेट झालेली जी स्टीम आहे ती जमिनीवरती येणार आहे. मग त्याचे वेगवेगळे प्रकार आपण बघितले, हे ड्रिझल वगैरे एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा आहेत. परंतु इंडियन कॉन्टिनेंटचा जर का आपण विचार केला तर मॅक्झिमम जे कॉन्ट्रीब्युशन आहे किंवा मॅक्झिमम अमाऊंट मध्ये जे वॉटर आपल्याकडे जमिनीवरती येतं प्रेसिपिटेशन होऊन नंतर ना, ते म्हणजे रेनफॉल आणि स्नोफॉल मधून येतं. रेनफॉल मधून डायरेक्टलीच पाणी येणार आहे. स्नोफॉल मधून सुरुवातीला बर्फ पडल्यानंतर ना पुन्हा तो मेल्ट होणार, अँड आफ्टर मेल्टिंग दॅट we to get the water, and snowfall wills to observe in the Himalayan terrains. We are going to look into details of that. So the rainfall and snowfall contribute significant amounts of the water. Rainfall is the predominant form of the precipitation which causes a stream flow, especially the flood flow in the majority of the rivers in India. So now also we'll think about the yesterday's rainfall which has been occurred in our district, we can say Solapur district only. So in that case we have found that I had an eyewitness of that. For the streams also we found the flood. So this is the condition we can say. So means the rainfall is a predominant form of the precipitation which causes the stream flow, especially the floods in the majority of the rivers in India. म्हणजे आपल्याकडे जास्तीत जास्त प्रमाणामध्ये पाऊस पडतो. रेनफॉल म्हणजे पाऊस पडणे. तर आणि त्याच्यामुळे जास्तीत जास्त ओढ्यांना नदींना पाणी येतं आणि त्याच्यामुळे आपल्याकडे पूर परिस्थिती जनरेट होते. That is the meaning about that. Then now we'll see the various forms one by one in detail, because in the multiple choice questions also there is to have a question. It is what is the size of the droplets and all those things. Okay, so we'll go for one by one now. The first one, that is a drizzle. Now drizzle maybe you are knowing about. By definition we will come to know that what does it mean about the drizzle. So drizzle is the form of the precipitation, and when we used to say that the form of precipitation is a drizzle, so when the size of the water droplet is under 0.5 millimeter and its intensity is less than 1 millimeter per hour. So drizzle, we can say that the precipitation in the form of the drizzle is when the size of the droplet, that is the diameter of the droplet, is less than or under 0.5 millimeter and its intensity is less than 1 millimeters per hour. मग एवढा कमी म्हणजे आपण बऱ्याच वेळा म्हणतो बघा केसासारखा पाऊस पडलेला म्हणतो बघा आपण बऱ्याच वेळा. We used to have an general nomenclature for that. आपण म्हणतो की केसासारखा अतिशय बारीक पाऊस पडायला लागला म्हणतो, त्याला आपण ड्रिझल असं म्हणतो. झिमझिम रिमझिम ह्या भाषेमध्ये आपण जे म्हणतो, जे अतिशय लहान म्हणजे अतिशय दुसर पाऊस पडल्यासारखा दिसतो आपल्याला, that is nothing but the drizzle, or that form is nothing but the drizzle. Okay, so the next form of the precipitation we'll go for, that is nothing but the rainfall. Okay, so again for the drizzle, because of the lightness the droplets appears to be floating in the air. Means number of the times we used to observe that for the drizzle the water droplets used to float in the air only, they used to move in the air itself. So that is the characteristic of a drizzle, we can say. The next form of the precipitation is a rainfall, which is the principal form of the precipitation, we can say. Over the India, there is the major part of the precipitation which occurs in India, that is in the form of a rainfall. So now when to say the precipitation is in the form of the rainfall, so when the droplet size or the diameter of the droplets is greater than 0.5 millimeter. So below 0.5 meter we are talking about as a drizzle, but when it is more than 0.5 millimeter, then in that case we can say that is a rainfall, but that dimension may go up to the 6 millimeter. म्हणजे आपण बऱ्याच वेळा म्हणतो की खूप मोठा पाऊस पडायला लागला किंवा मोठा रपरप पाऊस पडायला म्हणतो आपण. तर रपरप पाऊस पडणे म्हणजे काय झालं, तर त्या ड्रॉपलेटची साईज मोठी असते. त्या ड्रॉपलेटची साईज जर का मोठी असेल म्हणजे त्याची रेंज 0.5 to 6 millimeter असेल, in that case we can treat that rainfall as an that precipitation as an rainfall, we can consider that. So I'll admit it. Now the rainfall as we start. Is it audible? Okay, so for the rainfall we can say that the precipitation is in the form of rainfall when the droplet size is more than 0.5 millimeter and it may go up to the 6 millimeter in the dimension. So this is again the next part or the next form of the precipitation is a glaze. The glaze म्हणजे आपण बऱ्याच वेळा म्हणतो की चमचम झगझग म्हणतो. So how to or when to say the precipitation is in the form of glaze, when the drizzle or a rain freezes as it comes in contact with the cold objects, it is known as a glaze. म्हणजे ज्या वेळेस ड्रिझल आणि रेनफॉल हे खाली येत असतात, म्हणजे ते थेंब पाण्याचे खाली येत असतात, त्यावेळेस ते जमिनीवरती यायच्या अगोदरच जर का त्यांचं आणखी कंडेन्सेशन झालं, आणखी जर का ते कोल्ड झाले, तर त्या केसमध्ये छोटे छोटे सॉलिड पार्टिकल्स तयार सुरुवात होतात. दॅट यूज टू ट्रीट ऍज अन अ ग्लेज. बऱ्याच वेळा आपण हे तुम्ही से दॅट The glaze is nothing but the drizzle or a rain freezes as it comes in contact with the cold objects, and we can treat it as a glaze. So next form of the precipitation is a sleet, SLEET. So when to this sleet say, when we should say the precipitation as a sleet? So when the frozen raindrops, म्हणजे solidification व्हायला लागलेलं आहे, the frozen raindrops cooled to a ice stage while falling through air at sub-freezing temperature, then in that case it is considered as an a sleet. थोडक्यामध्ये आपण त्याला गारा म्हणू शकतो. जे पूर्णपणे जे वॉटर ड्रॉपलेट जे यायला लागले होते ते फ्रोझन झाले, अतिशय कूल झाले. कधी सब फ्रीजिंग टेम्परेचरलाच ते कोल्ड झाले. म्हणजे आतल्या बाजून बऱ्याच वेळा आपल्याला कॅव्हिटी सापडतात. म्हणजे आतून फॅकंट असतो आणि वरच्या बाजूने आपल्याला कापसासारखा बर्फ झालेला दिसतो आपल्याला. त्या पद्धतीचं आपण कन्सिडरेशन करू शकतो. सो that form of the precipitation we can treat it as a sleet, and technically we can say that it is a frozen raindrops cooled to the ice stage while falling through air at a sub-freezing temperature. Then the next form is a snow. Okay, so snow म्हणजे बर्फवृष्टी आपण म्हणतो त्याला. So sleet we can consider as an आपल्या भाषेमध्ये आपण गारा म्हणू शकतो त्याला. Snow, so snow is characterized as the another important form of the precipitation over the Indian continent, we can say, because it also yields a considerable amount of the precipitation in the Himalayan regions, and it consists of the ice crystals. It consists of the ice crystals which usually combine to form the flakes. म्हणजे स्नोफॉल आपण जो म्हणतो आता स्नोफॉल आपल्याला माहिती आहे. सो snowfall is nothing but the consistency or the combination of the various ice crystals, and they appears as an flakes. Okay, so this is about a snow, we can say, and this is also one of the major component of the precipitation over the Indian continent, and it occurs in the Himalayan regions. And how does that snowfall is to results? It results from the sublimation, that is directly conversion of the water vapors to the ice, means directly change of the phase from the vapor state to the solid state. That is nothing but the snow, we can say. The next form is a snowflakes. So snowflakes are nothing but when the number of ice crystals gets fused together, means whenever number of ice crystals gets combines together, in that case they forms a larger part, large dimensional snow, we can say. म्हणजे ज्या वेळेस भरपूर छोटे छोटे बर्फाचे तुकडे एकत्र जॉईन होतात, ते जॉईन झाल्यानंतर जे स्ट्रक्चर तयार होतो त्याला आपण स्नो फ्लेक्स असं म्हणू शकतो. इट मीन्स दॅट when number of ice crystals fused together to form they forms the snow flakes. Either their fusion म्हणजे ज्यावेळेस आईस क्रिस्टल असणार आणि ते ज्यावेळेस फ्यूज होणार त्या कंडिशनला जो तयार होणारे जे स्ट्रक्चर असणार त्या स्ट्रक्चरला आपण स्नोफ्लेक असं म्हणणार. नेक्स्ट फॉर्म ऑफ द प्रेसिपिटेशन is the hails. And the hails are nothing but the showery precipitation. म्हणजे आपण जसं शॉवर सुरू केल्यानंतर जे जी प्रमाणामध्ये जसं पाऊस पडल्यासारखं वाटतं आपल्याला, like that only we can treat. It is a showery precipitation in the form of irregular pellets or lumps of ice having the size more than 8 millimeters. It means that it is a showery in nature, but it used to contain the irregular snowflakes or irregular lumps of the lumps of the ice, we can say. And that is they are having the dimension or their size more than 8 millimeter. In that case, we used to categorize or we used to consider it as a precipitation in the form of a hails. Then the next one, next part regarding that hails, that is when that hails is to occur, that is the lumps of the ice or the pellets, irregular dimension ice crystals, we can say. It occurs in a violent thunderstorms in which a vertical currents are very strong. म्हणजे ज्या वेळेस व्हर्टिकल मुवमेंट ही विंडची जास्त असते त्या केसेसमध्ये आपल्याला या पद्धतीचं प्रेसिपिटेशन जास्त आढळतं. सो in general we can summarize now. The hails are having the dimension of the lumps of the ice crystals more than 8 millimeters, and they occurs in the violent thunderstorms where the vertical air currents are very strong. And the next one we'll go for now, the types of precipitation. So whatever the part we have discussed that was regarding the form of precipitation, means in the which form we used to get the water over the earth from the atmosphere. That is, from the condensation of the water vapors, in which form we used to get the water over the earth surface. Those are nothing but the forms of precipitation. Those are rainfall, snowfall, drizzle, hails, etc. That we are saying. Now we are going to look about the types of precipitation, means how the precipitation used to occur, or which conditions are required, or under which circumstances actually that condensation occurs. Now the precipitation means what? There is a condensation. It means that types of precipitation means what? Now the process by which there occurs a condensation of the water vapors, or the condensation of the clouds, or the conversion of the clouds to the either ice or to the rainfalls, we can say. म्हणजे टाइप्स ऑफ प्रेसिपिटेशन म्हणजे काय असणार? तर प्रेसिपिटेशन म्हणजे काय थोडक्यात, तर की कन्व्हर्जन आहे कोणाचं वॉटर वेपरचं, म्हणजे ढगातील जी पाण्याची वाफ आहे त्याचं पाण्यामध्ये कन्व्हर्जन होणार आहे, किंवा आईस क्रिस्टल मध्ये डायरेक्टली कन्व्हर्जन होणार आहे. मग ते कन्व्हर्जन होत असताना कोणकोणत्या पद्धतीनं होतं, त्या पद्धतीनं किंवा त्या टाइप्स ऑफ प्रेसिपिटेशन असं म्हटलं जातं. मीन्स थोडक्यात इथं म्हणजे काय सांगायचं आहे, तर ज्या वेळेस त्या ढगांचं कन्व्हर्जन होऊन पाण्याच्या वाफेचं कन्व्हर्जन पाण्यामध्ये किंवा वॉटर ड्रॉपलेट मध्येच किंवा आईस क्रिस्टल मध्ये होणार आहे, ते होत असताना ते कोणकोणत्या पद्धतीने होणार, कोणकोणत्या टाइप्सने होणार, त्या पद्धतीने प्रेसिपिटेशनचे टाइप्स ठरतात. ओके. परंतु यासाठी भरपूर कंडिशन्स ह्या रिस्पॉन्सिबल असतात. म्हणजे आता एक गोष्ट आपल्याला कळते की बाबा रे कंडेन्सेशन व्हायचं आहे म्हणजे कंपल्सरी जे काही क्लाउड्स असणार तिथं कोल्ड एअर मास असायलाच पाहिजे आहे. Unless and until there will not be the cold mass of the air, there will not be the conversion of the vapors to the liquid phase. Okay, it means that there should have a change of a temperature, we can say, and those things we are now going to look into the details. So the first one we will see for, it is convective precipitation, or it is also called as a thermal convection. म्हणजे जी काही फेज चेंज होणार आहे vapors to the liquid or the solid, we can say that by the first type, that is by the convective action or thermal convection. And when that occurs, then in that case it is called as convective precipitation. म्हणजे वॉटर वेपरचं कन्व्हर्जन जर का ड्रॉपलेट्स मध्ये झालं आणि ते जर का थर्मल म्हणजे कन्व्हेक्शन मुळे झालं, म्हणजे हीट एक्सचेंज मुळे होताना जर का कन्व्हेक्शन ही प्रोसेस जर का ऍप्लिकेबल झाली, तर त्या केसमध्ये आपण त्याला कन्व्हेक्टिव्ह प्रेसिपिटेशन किंवा थर्मल कन्व्हेक्शन असं म्हणणार आहे. We'll see that how it occurs and when it occurs. So for the thermal convection, just a minute, I would like to admit the people firstly. Dhaval is there. Okay. Okay, huh. So we're talking about the convective precipitation. Now, how it occurs or how this phenomenon occurs? It occurs when the air mass above the air used to get under the heating process, and due to the heating, it moves in a upward direction. म्हणजे जमिनीवरती जी हवा असते ती काय होते, तर टेम्परेचरमुळे ती गरम होते, आणि गरम झालेली हवा जी असते ती वाफ जी म्हणतो आपण, ती वरती वरती आकाशामध्ये निघून जाते. And that is, it is air above the land area gets heated and moves up and up. And after moving up, the cold air from the surrounding moves towards that place. म्हणजे काय झालं, जमिनीवरती जी हवा होती ती पूर्णपणे गरम झाली, त्याच्यामुळे तिची डेन्सिटी कमी झाली, त्याच्यामुळे ती वरती गेली, म्हणजे तिथं लो प्रेशर बेल्ट तयार झाला, निगेटिव्ह प्रेशर जनरेट होणार तिथं, कारण तिथली जी ऍक्च्युअल एअर होती ती टेम्परेचर वाढल्यामुळे, डेन्सिटी कमी झाल्यामुळे वरती निघून गेली आकाशामध्ये, तिथं व्हॅकंट स्पेस तयार झाला. त्याच्यामुळे काय झालं, तर त्या पोझिशनला कोल्ड एअर मूव्ह झाली, म्हणजे साईडच्या रिजन मधून थंड हवा बरोबर तिथं आली. It means that the cold air from the surrounding moves towards that place. Which place? From which that air has got heated and moved up, and that takes the position and forms the convection belt. म्हणजे काय झालं आता इथं एक उष्ण हवेचा पट्टा तयार झाला आणि दुसरा म्हणजे कोल्ड हवेचा पट्टा तयार झाला आणि त्या बेल्टला किंवा त्या पट्ट्याला म्हणजे त्या बेल्टला आपण काय म्हणतो कन्व्हेक्शन बेल्ट म्हणतोय. अँड दॅट रिजन or the space or the boundary in between that heat and hot and cold air masses, that is considered as an front. And at that point or at that place or at that boundary or at that belt, we can say there occurs a change in or exchange in the heat. Means the hot air mass gets the cool, its temperature goes on reduction and reduction, and due to the reduction in that there occurs a precipitation. So this is the first one we can say. So the warm air rises up and cools and precipitates. म्हणजे ते वरती वरती गेली, खाली थंड हवा आली, नंतर टेम्परेचर कमी झालं आणि टेम्परेचर कमी झाल्यामुळे त्याचं कंडेन्सेशन झालं आणि ते डायरेक्टली कन्व्हर्जन हे वेपर्स मध्ये झालं. So this is nothing but the convective precipitation, we can say. So the convective precipitation is a showery in nature. This is the characteristic, we can say. So characteristic of a convective precipitation, if we go for, then we can say that it is a showery in nature. Then it results in a light showers to the thunderstorms. Okay, म्हणजे याच्या दोन कॅरेक्टरिस्टिक्स आपण आहेत असं म्हणू शकतो किंवा आणखीन असू शकतील असं म्हणू शकतो. त्याच्यापैकी जे आपण पहिली समराइज केली ती म्हणजे काय, इट अपियर्स इन अ शावरी in nature, and second one, it is it results in a light showers to the thunderstorms. The if we talk about its aerial extent, म्हणजे काय तर किती एरियावरती ते पसरू शकतो, means how much area it is going to cover. That in that case we can say that the aerial extent of the convective precipitation is a small, and its ranges up to the 10 kilometer in a diameter. Now 10 kilometer diameter you will talk about, it's not that much, it is not a small diameter, but if you consider the phenomenon or the process of the precipitation, in that case this 10 kilometer diameter area is considered as a less one. So we can say here as the convective precipitation, or the area of extent or the area covered by the convective precipitation is up to the 10 kilometers in a diameter. Okay, so this is about the convective precipitation. Now we'll go for the next type of the precipitation. Just a minute. That is a frontal precipitation. Now a front we had seen in the previous one, that is a brief idea I had given. That is when the hot air and cold air, they comes in a contact, then a boundary in between that, or the phase in between them, that is nothing but the front we had seen. So we'll see now in detail the frontal precipitation. So when two air masses of contrasting temperatures means cold and hot, and having the different densities, that is different densities clashes with each other, म्हणजे ज्या वेळेस cold air mass and hot air mass are going to collide with each other, or they are going to intermix with each other, then in that case there occurs a condensation and results in a precipitation, and that precipitation is nothing but the frontal precipitation. म्हणजे इथं काय होतंय, एका साइडने कोल्ड एअर असेल, दुसऱ्या साइडने वार्म एअर असेल, and when they used to strike with each other, in that case we used to say that there occurs a precipitation. थोडक्यात सांगायचं म्हणजे बऱ्याच वेळा आपण ऑब्झर्व करतो की आकाशामध्ये भरपूर सारे ढग असतात. We used to observe number of the clouds in the sky, and when there used to blow a cold air, in that case there results in a precipitation. म्हणजे ते ढग भरपूर असतात परंतु पाऊस सुरुवातीला पडत नाहीये, परंतु जर का थंड हवा सुटली तर लगेच पाऊस पडतो. म्हणजे काय, वरचे जे मास असणार, वी कॅन ट्रीट इट एज अन वन सॉर्ट ऑफ द air mass, we can say, having the water vapors, and the cold air is another mass, and when they used to strike with each other, then in that case there occurs exchange in the energies and there results in a condensation, and it's the precipitation. Now the frontal precipitation is nothing but the is due to the contacting. म्हणजे काय झालं की दोन सरफेसेस म्हणजे हॉट एअर मास आणि कोल्ड एअर मास एकमेकाच्या कॉन्टॅक्ट मध्ये आले,
and that contacting surface is called as a front or the frontal surface. And as per that, we have the two types. We will see that now. So frontal surfaces are of three types rather. Sorry, I had told two, but there are three types. We'll see now one by one. The first one is the cold front. So now what does it mean about the cold front? तर कोल्ड फ्रंट मध्ये काय होतं मी ब्रीफली आयडिया देतो. कोल्ड फ्रंट म्हणजे काय असतं की जी थंड हवेचं जे मास असतं किंवा जी थंड हवा असते ती वार्म एअरला ढकलून घेते, पुढे ढकलत घेते. दॅट इज कॉल्ड एज अ कोल्ड फ्रंट. मीन्स द कोल्ड एअर मास ड्राइव्स आउट अ वार्म एअर मास and it results in a intense precipitation over a small area with a movement of a front as fast. म्हणजे इथं काय होतंय तर जी थंड हवा आहे ती थंड हवा उष्ण हवेला ढकलते असं आपण म्हणूया किंवा त्याच्यामध्ये पूर्णपणे आतमध्ये घुसून तिचं पूर्णपणे कंडेन्सेशन करते आणि त्याचं कंडेन्सेशन झाल्यामुळे प्रेसिपिटेशन जे होत आहे ते प्रेसिपिटेशनचं अमाऊंट हे जास्त राहत आहे. परंतु जो एरिया असतोय तो एरिया हा कमी असतो. म्हणजे कमी एरियावरती होतो परंतु इंटेन्स प्रेसिपिटेशन म्हणजे खूप मोठा पाऊस पडणार परंतु कमी एरियावरती पडणार. आणि ही जी मुवमेंट असते कोल्ड फ्रंटची that movement is a so fast movement as compared to the other fronts. Now we'll see in the sketch how it appears to be and all those things. Warm front, warm air. In the warm front, the warm air mass replaces the retreating cold air mass and it results in a less precipitation over a large spread area. Whereas movement of front is also a small. The cold air front मध्ये आपण काय म्हटलं की थंड हवा काय करते तर त्या उष्ण हवेला ढकलून येते किंवा त्याच्यामध्ये आतमध्ये जाऊन पूर्णपणे कंडेन्सेशन करते आणि त्याची जी मुवमेंट आहे त्या कोल्ड हवेची ती जास्त आहे. ओके. आणि त्याच्यामुळे खूप मोठा पाऊस पडतोय आणि खूप छोट्या रिजन वरती पडतोय. परंतु याच्या एक्झॅक्टली रिव्हर्स फेनॉमिनन वार्म फ्रंट मध्ये घडतीये. मीन्स द एक्झॅक्ट रिव्हर्स फेनॉमिनन अकर्स इन वार्म फ्रंट. इन वार्म फ्रंट द वार्म एअर रिप्लेसेस द कोल्ड एअर और the warm air drives out the cold air. म्हणजे उष्ण हवा तर थंड हवेमध्ये चालली असं म्हणू शकतो आणि त्याचं पुन्हा कंडेन्सेशन होणार आहे. ज्याच्यामुळे होतंय काय की जे काही होणारं प्रेसिपिटेशन आहे होणारा जो रेनफॉल आहे दॅट रेनफॉल इज सो लेस अँड इट स्प्रेड्स ओव्हर अ लार्ज एरिया. म्हणजे खूप मोठ्या एरियावरती खूप पाऊस पडतो परंतु त्याची इंटेन्सिटी जी असते ती इंटेन्सिटी ही खूप कमी असते आणि जी मुवमेंट असते फ्रंटची ती फ्रंटची मुवमेंट ही कमी असते. ओके. सो नाउ हिअर वी आर गेटिंग द आयडिया. दिस इज द फर्स्ट वन इज अबाउट द कोल्ड एअर फ्रंट अँड सेकंड वन इज अबाउट द वार्म एअर फ्रंट. वी कॅन से कोल्ड एअर फ्रंट मध्ये काय होतंय ही जी कोल्ड एअर मास आहे ही कोल्ड एअर ह्या वार्म एअर मध्ये घुसते आतमध्ये आणि इथून काय होतंय त्या वार्म एअर मध्ये घुसून ही पूर्णपणे या हवेला थंड करते आणि त्याच्यामुळे पाऊस पडतोय. तर हा एरिया जो असणार आहे तो एरिया कमी राहतो परंतु इंटेन्स प्रेसिपिटेशन इथं होतं. म्हणजे आणि या दोघांमधला जो कॉन्टॅक्टिंग सरफेस जो आहे ही डॉटेड लाईन जी आपल्याला दिसते दॅट इज नथिंग बट द फ्रंटल सरफेस. आणि ही कोल्ड एअर ही बरोबर अशी या साईडने जाते किंवा ह्याला पूर्णपणे पुशअप करत जाते वरच्या बाजूला किंवा याच्यामध्ये आतमध्ये जाऊ शकते. त्याच्यामुळे ही वार्म एअर मध्ये घुसून खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणामध्ये पाऊस पडणार आहे. सो दिस इज अबाउट द कोल्ड एअर फ्रंट. फॉर द वार्म एअर फ्रंट इथं आपल्याला दिसतंय बघा आता हे कोल्ड एअर मास या बाजूला मूव्ह व्हायला लागलाय. कशामुळे कारण वार्म एअर मास जी आहे ती वार्म एअर जी आहे उष्ण हवा जी आहे वरच्या बाजूला ऑब्व्हियसली जी उष्ण हवा असणार ती त्याची डेन्सिटी कमी असणार ती म्हणजे वरच्या साईडला असणार अप्पर सरफेसला असणार आणि कोल्ड एअर ड्यू टू हायर डेन्सिटी इट विल बी ऍट द लोअर एलिव्हेशन्स वी कॅन से. In this case, the warm air which is there at the higher elevation, it moves in the cold air mass and it results in again the condensation of the warm air mass and there is a formation of the precipitation. आणि ज्या वेळेस ही उष्ण हवा थंड हवेमध्ये घुसते किंवा तिला पुढे सरकवत जाते किंवा पुशअप करत जाते किंवा रिप्लेस करत जाते त्यावेळेस होणाऱ्या कंडेन्सेशनमुळे किंवा त्या होणाऱ्या प्रेसिपिटेशनला आपण वार्म फ्रंटल प्रेसिपिटेशन असं म्हणतो. सो इन शॉर्ट वी कॅन से इन कोल्ड फ्रंट cold air replaces the warm air whereas in a warm front the warm air replaces. So this is about the cold air front and the warm air. बऱ्याच वेळा काय होतं की दोघांचं जर का
तेवढं पत्र असते तोडायचं आहे मला हे करावं लागेल म्हणायचं त्या ते याचा मोबाईल आहे का त्या काय
कोल्ड एअर आणि वार्म एअर ह्या दोन्ही जर का एकमेकांना पुश करायला लागल्या तर मग काय होणार? That thing also happens, and that we are going to see now in the next part. That is nothing but the stationary front. That is when the both cold and warm air masses are drawn simultaneously towards the low pressure area. म्हणजे काय होणार इथं आता? दोन्ही एअर मासेस जर का एकमेकांना पुश ढकलत चालले आणि कुठे चालले ते लो प्रेशर एरियाला, ऑब्विसली इट दे आर गोइंग टू मूव ऍट द लास्ट टुवर्ड द लो प्रेशर एरिया, म्हणजे लो प्रेशर एअर बेल्ट वी कॅन से. And when they simultaneously drive themselves, in that case there occurs a front that is called as a stationary front. So here we are looking for, that is a warm air, cold air, and here is a colder air. It means that both the airs or both the air masses are drawing simultaneously themselves towards the low pressure area. म्हणजे कमी प्रेशर एरियाच्या पट्ट्यामध्ये, किंवा आपण बऱ्याच वेळा म्हणतो की कमी दाबाचा पट्टा तयार झाला, म्हणजे कमी दाबाचा पट्टा तयार झाला म्हणजेच काय झालं, तर तिथली जी पेपर होती किंवा तिथले जे एअर होती ती टेम्परेचर जास्त झाल्यामुळे, डेन्सिटी कमी झाल्यामुळे वरती निघून गेली. मग त्या तिकडं काय होणार, दुसरी एअर बरोबर तिथली जागा ऑक्युपाय करण्याचा प्रयत्न करणार. So when it happens, so that is when it moves further, that is when cold and warm both the air fronts, in that case it results in a low pressure belt here. Okay, ह्या लो प्रेशर बेल्ट कडे येतात त्या, towards the low pressure belt. म्हणजे त्या दोन्ही एअर्स म्हणजे कोल्ड आणि वार्म ह्या दोन्ही बरोबर लो प्रेशर कडे येण्याचा प्रयत्न करतात, त्यावेळेस स्टेशनरी फ्रंट तयार होतो. ओके, आणि इफ इट yields a precipitation, then we can say that is a stationary front precipitation. Then the next type of the precipitation is the cyclonic precipitation. Okay, आता सायक्लोनिक प्रेसिपिटेशन म्हणजे काय, आपण बऱ्याच वेळा म्हणतो की समुद्रामध्ये खूप मोठा सायक्लोन तयार झाला त्याच्यामुळे पाऊस पडला, किंवा बऱ्याच वेळा आपण म्हणतो की उन्हाळ्यामध्ये आपल्याकडे फावटळ येतात, त्याला शुद्ध मराठीमध्ये फावटळ असं म्हणतात, काही रिजन मध्ये त्याला आपण भोवरा म्हणतो, म्हणजे एअरचा असा भोवरा तयार होतो, रोटेट होतो खूप हाय स्पीडने, खूप हाईट पर्यंत आपल्याला त्याची धूळ उडलेली दिसते, बरोबर त्याला शेप नागमोडी वगैरे बऱ्याच वेळा येतो. दोज आर इन जनरल वी कॅन ट्रीट देम ॲज अ सायक्लोन्स. मग ज्या वेळेस हे असे सायक्लोन्स हे समुद्रावरती जनरेट होऊन जर का जमिनीवरती पास होत असतील किंवा व्हाईस वर्सा कंडिशन्स असतील, and they used to have, if they used to have a sufficient quantity of the moisture with them, in that case they results in a precipitation. So we'll see now, it is first one, it is a cyclonic precipitation. So cyclonic precipitation is due to the lifting of moist air and moist air converging into a low pressure belt, that is due to the pressure difference created by the unequal heating of the earth surfaces. सायक्लोन कसा तयार होतो किंवा एअर रोटेट कशी होते, तर ज्या वेळेस अनइक्वल हिटिंग होतो, म्हणजे काय आपण म्हणतो की जमीन लगेच तापते आणि लगेच थंड होते, परंतु पाणी उशिरा तापतं आणि उशिरा थंड होतो. मीन्स हिअर ऑल्सो वी कॅन से दॅट देयर एक्झिस्ट अँड प्रेशर temperature difference or unequal heating we can say. So when that earth used to have a higher rate of heating, in that case the whatever the air mass used to exist over that air mass used to move in upward direction, in which there exists a low pressure belt, and that low pressure belt we can say, the whatever the air used to be there over the surface of the seas and oceans, that moves towards it, towards the earth we can say, in general I'm talking about. And when it happens, so while coming to that they used to have a low pressure belt and they used to start rotating towards them about the center. So it, here we can say that now that is the and there is a formation of the cyclones, which is characterized by, or it is nothing but the precipitation due to the lifting of moist air converging into the low pressure belt, and that will be due to the unequal heating of earth surface. म्हणजे जिथं जास्त उष्णता होती तिथे हवा वरती गेली, आणि जिथं अर्थ सरफेस वरती किंवा समुद्रावरती असेल किंवा साइड बाय रिजन वरती त्या जमिनीवरती कुठं तिथं टेम्परेचर अनइक्वल हिटिंग झालं, म्हणजे जिथं टेम्परेचर कमी आहे तिथली हवा थंड असणार, that is to move towards the hot surfaces we can say, and it results in the formation of the cyclones, and that airs used to get lifted in upward direction. In the northern hemispheres, if you're talking about the cyclones, then in the northern hemispheres the winds blow spirally inward and counterclockwise. म्हणजे जर का आपण नॉर्दर्न हेमिस्फिअर जर का आपला बघितला तर त्या केसमध्ये नॉर्दर्न डिरेक्शन मध्ये आपण असं म्हणू शकतो की जे काही सायक्लोन्स असतात दे यूज टू मूव्ह स्पायरली इनवर्ड अँड इन अ काउंटर क्लॉकवाइज डिरेक्शन. म्हणजे स्पायरल म्हणजे आपल्या स्प्रिंग सारखं, म्हणजे आपण म्हणतो की गोलाकार असतात परंतु उंच असोपर्यंत ते इनवर्ड म्हणजे आतल्या बाजूला रोटेट होत जाणार, बट दे आर मुव्हिंग इन अ काउंटर क्लॉकवाइज डिरेक्शन, whereas in the southern hemisphere they used to in a clockwise direction. म्हणजे नॉर्दर्न हेमिस्फिअर मध्ये ते काउंटर क्लॉकवाइज असतात तर साऊदर्न हेमिस्फिअर मध्ये ते क्लॉकवाइज सेन्सने राहतात. सो इन द सायक्लोनिक प्रिसिपिटेशन इट हॅज द टू टाइप्स. म्हणजे जे काय आपण म्हटलं की बाबा फाउंटर असेल किंवा खूप मोठं ते भोवरा तयार झाला जमिनीच्या वरचा, त्याच्यामुळे जे होणारं प्रिसिपिटेशन आहे ते त्यांना दोन पद्धतीने होतं, दोन टाइप मध्ये येतं. So first is the tropical and second one is the extratropical. So tropical cyclones, those are also called as the hurricanes or the typhoons. So now what are the characteristics of those tropical cyclones or the hurricane typhoon? बऱ्याच वेळा आपण म्हणतो की typhoon आला समुद्रामध्ये असं झालं, खूप मोठा झाला, केरळला एवढं नुकसान झालं, इकडे एवढं नुकसान झालं. What are the characteristics of that? We'll see now that. So tropical cyclones, they originate in the oceans during the summer months itself. जे if we talk about their origin and their formation, they is to start their formation in the summer month in itself, that is from the oceans at the low latitudes. They starts the originating in the months of summer in the ocean at the low latitudes of 5 degree to 10 degrees, and they moves towards the earth surface. And while moving so they gets their energy from the latent heat of that. We are going to see that. If you see another characteristic of the tropical cyclones, they are comparatively small in diameters. That is about the 300 to 1,500 kilometers in the diameter. Look into the figure, that is 300 to 1,500 kilometers, and they used to cause a high wind velocity and the heavy precipitation. So tropical cyclones yields a heavy precipitation. They used to have the high velocity of the winds, and their diameters are ranging between 300 to the 1,500 kilometers. They derive their energy from the latent heat of condensation of the ocean water vapor. Means while they move over the oceans, in that case they used to get their energy from there itself. It is due to the latent heat of condensation. But when they appear or when they pass over the land surface, that energy vanishes immediately, and they yields in a high precipitation at that region itself. So when next one we can say that if the intensity of the storm decreases rapidly and causes a heavy damages to the life and property. Why that intensity of a storm decreases rapidly? Because when they move from the oceans to the land surface, then their energy is to go on vanishing at a higher magnitudes, because they earn or they get their energy from the latent heat of condensation only, that is from the oceans only. Okay, here I mentioned that is they used to get the energy from the latent heat of condensation of the ocean water vapors only. But when they move over the earth surface, then that source of the energy gets cut off. As the source of energy gets cut off, their further movement gets the obstacles. म्हणजे ते नंतर ना पुढे पुढे जास्त स्पीडने जाऊ शकत नाहीत नंतर ना. त्याच्यामुळे काय होतं, दे यूज टू yield द इंटेन्स स्टॉर्म्स ऍट दॅट प्लेसेस ओनली. म्हणजे तिथंच ते काय होणार, ज्यावेळेस जमिनीवरती येणार त्यावेळेस ते जास्त प्रमाणामध्ये पाऊस पडणार आणि तो पुढे लगेच जाऊन रॅपिडली कमी कमी होत जाणार, कारण त्यांची जी एनर्जी सोर्स आहे तो एनर्जी सोर्स काय झालेला आहे, पूर्णपणे बंद झालेला आहे. सो intensity of the storm decreases rapidly and causes heavy damages to the life and property. Why heavy damages? Because they used to have a huge amount of energy associated with them. They used to have the diameters about the 300 to 1,500 kilometers. They used to have a huge amount of the water vapors with them. And when the energy gets cut off, they gets condensates, and that huge amount of the condensation, that precipitation used to occur, and due to that heavy precipitation, intense precipitation, there occurs a heavy damage to the life and property. Okay, so this is an schematic section of the tropical cyclone. Here also we can summarize the things about that. Before that, I would like to show another one picture of that. This is a tropical cyclone. Okay, to see that it is this is the eye that is called as the center of the cyclone is called as the eye, and here if you look into the sense neatly, you will find that this is a center which is at a so high depth we can say, and so this is an anti-localization we can say, and this is its diameter and how much amount of the water vapors and the water droplets they used to have with them. इथं आपल्याला क्लिअर कट दिसतंय बघा याच्यामध्ये किती प्रमाणामध्ये ते मॉइस्ट एअर किंवा मॉइश्चर स्वतः बरोबर कॅरी करतायत, हे किती स्पीडने रोटेट होऊ शकतो, आणि हे ज्या वेळेस जमिनीवरती येणार त्यावेळेस याची जी काही एनर्जी आहे जी वॉटर व्हेपर्स मधून त्याला मिळालेली लॅटेंट हीटमुळे ती सडनली लॉस होते, आणि लॉस झाल्यामुळे पूर्णपणे वॉटर ड्रॉपलेट्स नंतर ना कमी अंतरामध्ये किंवा कमी डिस्टन्समध्ये कमी एरियल एक्सटेंटमध्ये ते पूर्णपणे स्प्रेड होतं, जमिनीवरती स्ट्राईक होतं किंवा जमिनीवरती येणार, आणि त्याच्यामुळे हेवी इंटेन्स प्रेसिपिटेशन होतो आणि त्याच्यामुळे ह्यूज लॉस होतो. So here we can say that this is its low pressure belt. Now we'll move towards the another sketch, the cyclone here. So it indicates the pressure on this axis, vertical axis left hand side, vertical axis right hand side indicates the wind speed, and it indicates the radial distance, that is the radius we can say in the kilometers. So if we talk about the center point, that is I we can say of the tropical cyclone, then at the center its diameter is so less. Here where the next type of the cyclone is the extratropical cyclone. So if we look about the extratropical cyclone, then the extratropical cyclones they forms outside the tropical zone only. As they are extratropical means they are outside the tropical zone. They are having the diameters about the 3000 kilometers. The diameters of the extratropical cyclones is about 3000 kilometers, and they used to cause the widespread area. म्हणजे जर का 3000 किलोमीटर पर्यंत जर का त्यांचा डायमीटर असेल, it means that they used to cover so large areas. Okay, then they used to have the frontal type precipitation. It means that cold air mass and the hot air mass they are going to collide with each other, and due to that there is a formation of the precipitation, it is the frontal type precipitation, and that occurs outside the tropical zones. Then the another characteristic of the extratropical cyclone is that they possesses the strong counterclockwise circulation. Okay, they possesses the strong counterclockwise circulation in the northern hemisphere. Okay, and precipitation is usually longer than the extra extent is and the aerial extent of them is also a large. As their diameter is so large, त्याचा डायमीटर खूप मोठा आहे, 3000 किलोमीटर पर्यंतचा आहे, म्हणजे ते खूप वाईड स्प्रेड होणार आहे. इट मीन्स दॅट their aerial extent is also a large. But in the tropical cyclones we had seen that they move for some distance only. They move for some distance only on the ground surface, because their heat of their main source of energy, that is latent heat, which they are getting from the water vapors, that vanishes when they move over the earth's surface. But this is not the case in this. They used to have an extent over a larger areas. Then the next type of the precipitation is the orographic precipitation. So orographic precipitation if we'll talk about, आता orographic precipitation म्हणजे काय, आपण बऱ्याच वेळा म्हणतो की महाबळेश्वरला पाऊस जास्त पडला आणि चेरापुंजीला पाऊस कमी पडला, किंवा आपण काय म्हणतो की जर का झाडांची संख्या जास्त असेल, इन जनरल वी यूज्ड टू टॉक अबाउट की झाडांची संख्या जास्त असेल तर पाऊस जास्त पडतो, झाडांची संख्या कमी असेल तर पाऊस कमी पडतो. We learned that all those things from our childhood itself. And the orographic precipitation talks about the whenever there is a movement of the such type of the moist airs or the water vapors we can say, and if there occurs or there appears some obstacles in their movement or in their path, in that case they move in a vertically upward direction. And when they used to move in a vertically upward direction, they undergoes the change of phase, they undergoes the condensation, and when they undergoes the condensation, then they yields a rainfall over there. Okay, is it visible now? The screen is visible. Is the screen is visible? Hello. So when that air mass undergoes the condensation, that is it comes in the cold contact of the cold air, or when it cools down, it results in a precipitation. It means that due to the obstacles in the path or the movement appears, in that case, the air mass is to move in a vertically upward direction, and then it condensates and it results in a precipitation. We'll see with the help of the sketch. So a rising of air masses or the barriers like the mountains means the cause of the orographic precipitation is the obstacles in the movement of the air masses. That is, those obstacles may be the mountains or the high hills, due to which the air masses moves in an upward direction, and it results in a rising up and results in the condensation and precipitation. All the precipitation in the Himalayan regions is orographic precipitation. We can admit about that because in the Himalayan terrain there is a number of, not only the Himalaya, but there are number of the mountains are there in. Okay, हिमालयाच्या साईडला बी खूप मोठ्या पर्वतरांगा आहेत. मग अशा केसेस मध्ये जर का एअर मास गॉट ऑब्स्टक्स in its direction due to the mountains, etc., then it moves in a vertically upward direction and it results in condensation and a precipitation. So ideal example we can consider here as a Himalayan terrain. Okay, then here is the case I have shown here in. This is a mountain range, we can say. To understand specifically, we have considered here as a sea or ocean, or you may consider it as a lake or a pond, which used to have some water. There is those are the water vapors, and the wind is moving over it, and due to the movement of the wind over the surface of the sea or ocean or the water body, it moves or it takes that all the water vapors with it and it moves further. But as there is a barrier in the way, it moves in an upward direction, and while moving in upward direction, due to the cold air mass or due to coming in contact with the cold air mass, it results in condensation, and due to the condensation again there occurs a rainfall. But due to the obstacle, due to the condensation of all the air mass herein, the whatever the region exactly opposite to that mountain area used to exist, that area comes under the rain shadow. आपण त्याला पर्जन्य छायेचा प्रदेश असं म्हणतो. सो रेन शॅडो इज नथिंग बट की म्हणजे आपल्या भाषेमध्ये आपण रेन शॅडो म्हणजे काय म्हणतो की आपल्याला एका साईडला डोंगराच्या खूप मोठा पाऊस पडतो आणि दुसऱ्या साईडला फक्त आपल्याला ढग आलेले दिसतात. दॅट कन्सिडरेशन म्हणजे जिथं फक्त ढग आलेले दिसतात तिथं पाऊस पडतच नाहीये, तो एरिया म्हणजे रेन शॅडो एरिया और रेन शॅडो रिजन वी कॅन से. अँड whenever the rain shadow region is to get a rainfall, in that case it's a must to have the high wind velocity of the wind, those are moving over the water surfaces. म्हणजे जर का रेन शॅडोच्या रिजनला सुद्धा जर का जाऊन पाऊस पडायचा असेल तर याचा अर्थ असा झाला की इकडच्या बाजूला जो वारा वाहणार आहे त्याची गती खूप जास्त असायला पाहिजे आहे, जेणेकरून काय होईल की इथली जी काय वॉटर वेपर असणार आहे, मॉइश्चर असणार आहे, तो वरती घेऊन जाणार, कंडेन्सेशन होत राहणार, परंतु ड्रायव्हिंग फोर्स जास्त असल्यामुळे तो काही प्रमाणामध्ये वरती डोंगराच्या वरती जाऊ शकेल आणि इकडच्या साईडला सुद्धा पुन्हा कंडेन्सेशन होऊन काही प्रमाणामध्ये पाऊस पडू शकेल. दॅट इज द कन्सिडरेशन वी कॅन से. So orographic precipitation talks about the whenever the air masses comes across the barriers in the forms of the mountains or the hills, they move in upward direction or they lifts in upward direction or they rise in upward direction, and they gets condensates and precipitates a heavy rainfall on that direction only, the windward direction only. म्हणजे ज्या बाजूने वारा वाहत होता त्याच बाजूला खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणामध्ये पाऊस पडतो. So this is about an orographic precipitation. Okay, so we have seen the types of the precipitation. Those are the different types of the precipitations. We had seen the forms of the precipitation also. and number of the times there also question either the forms of precipitation or the types of precipitation in the university. The questions were asked therein. Okay, so now we will move further. That is for after precipitation, how to know about how much amount of precipitation has been occurred. That is the measurement of a precipitation and how to measure the precipitation. Okay, so the precipitation, talking about specifically a rainfall, we can say. So rainfall in the India is recorded by two means. That is by a recording rain gauges and non-recording rain gauges. So the instrument which is going to be which is used for the measurement of the rainfall is the are of two types. That is a recording type and non-recording type. We'll see them in detail. So rainfall may be measured by the network of rain gauges, which may either be of a non-recording or a recording type. Okay. So firstly, we'll go for the recording type. Sorry, non-recording type. That is also called as non-automatic rain gauges. नॉन ऑटोमॅटिक किंवा नॉन रेकॉर्डिंग म्हणजे याचा अर्थ काय की ते काय मेजरमेंट करत नाहीयेत का. दे यूज टू मेजर बट दे डझंट रेकॉर्ड इट. They used to measure but they doesn't record it. Now we'll see that how they used to be. So the type of that non-recording rain gauge is the Siemens rain gauge, which is used in India. Then the automatic rain gauges or the recording rain gauges, nowadays those have been established in the Maharashtra also, not only in India but in Maharashtra also. Some of the regions where the regions are the remote places, rather we can say, at those places, and other regions also, IMD has installed the recording rain gauges. So recording rain gauges are of different types. It is weighing bucket rain gauge, tipping bucket rain gauge, float type rain gauges. So automated rain gauges are of three types: weighing bucket, tipping bucket, float type. Whereas non-automatic or non-recording rain gauge is a Siemens type rain gauge. It means that for the measurement of precipitation, we can use either recording or non-recording rain gauges. Now we'll see one by one. So firstly, that is a non-recording rain gauge, non-automated rain gauge. It is a Siemens rain gauge. This is a schematic sketch of the Siemens rain gauge. This is a foundation, we can say. A foundation is a part below the ground level, and in which there is a cylinder, we can say, which is embedded in it, which is having 12.5 centimeter as a diameter. Okay, that is a rim, we can say, which is having 12.5 centimeter diameter and which is having about 25 centimeter dimension above the whatever the foundation strata which we have prepared over there. Okay, बऱ्याच वेळा हा मॅसनरीचा असणार आहे आणि त्याच्यामध्ये काय केलेलं आहे, हे एम्बेडेड केलेलं आहे. फाउंडेशन मध्ये बरोबर ते ऍक्युरेट बसण्यासाठी खालच्या साईडला बरोबर फुटिंग दिलेलं आहे, and that stepped footing we can say, and for that footing the dimension, lower dimension as per the standards we can say, that is a 20 centimeter, whereas it's a top diameter, it is a circular in nature, the cylinder type असणार आहे आणि the top diameter हा 12.5 centimeter आहे. तर मेकॅनिझम काय सांगतो, तर या सिलेंडर मध्ये मीन्स व्हॉट एव्हर द सिलेंडर राईट नाउ वी आर कन्सिडरिंग that cylinder which has been embedded in the foundation for some part, and some part is exposed to the atmosphere. That exposed to the atmosphere part is about the 25 centimeters we can say, and below that there is again a 10 centimeters, means it is about a 35 centimeters in a total height. Then at its inlet there is to have a cap, and below the cap there is a funnel, and that funnel, below that funnel there is a collecting chamber. That collecting chamber is a glass bottle. म्हणजे या सिलेंडर मध्ये काय केले, आता आतमध्ये ग्लासची बॉटल ठेवलेली आहे, ग्रॅज्युएटेड ग्लास बॉटल आहे, ज्याची कॅपॅसिटी 12.5 मिलीमीटर एवढी असते. दॅट वी आर गोइंग टू हॅव इट्स डिस्कशन. ही ग्लासची जी बॉटल आहे ती ग्लासची बॉटल बरोबर आतमध्ये सिलेंडर मध्ये ठेवलेली आहे आणि तिला कव्हर करण्यासाठी मेटल केसिंग ठेवलेलं आहे. म्हणजे सुरुवातीला हा सिलेंडर असणार, त्याला आपण रिम म्हटलेला आहे इथं. So this rim is there. Inside the rim there is a metal casing, and inside that metal casing there is a glass bottle at its bottom, and above the glass bottle there is a funnel to collect the rainfall and to pour inside the glass bottle. This is the mechanism of that. Now we'll see one by one. So usually the rainfall measured are at 8:30 hours IST and sometimes at 7:30 hours as per the Indian Standard Time. म्हणजे याच्यामध्ये जे आपण काउंट करणारा जो रेनफॉल आहे, म्हणजे काय करणार, आता आपण सकाळी याला ऑपरेट केलं, म्हणजे काय केलं आपण, साधारणतः सकाळी 8:30 वाजता आपण ह्याला याच्यातला रेनफॉल मोजतो, किंवा जर का पाऊस जास्त पडत असेल तर त्या केसमध्ये फ्रिक्वेन्सी वाढवली जाते. परंतु साधारणतः इन जनरल ऍज पर द as per the standards we can say in India it is measured at 8:30 AM and at the 17:30 म्हणजे 5:30 ला, म्हणजे संध्याकाळी 5:30 ला किंवा सकाळी 8:30 ला मेजरमेंट केलं जातं. परंतु जर का पाऊस जास्त असेल, if the rainfall is so high, in that case it is measured at the interval of 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour as per the requirement, because it's having a specific capacity. म्हणजे काय, समजा आपण सकाळी 8:30 ला हे पूर्णपणे एम्प्टी करून ठेवली बॉटल आतमध्ये आणि संध्याकाळी 5:30 ला मोजली, म्हणजे याचा अर्थ काय, इन बिटवीन 8:30 to 5:30 how much amount of the rainfall has been occurred, that will be get measured here. Okay, means total amount of the rainfall which is going to occur in between that time period, that amount of rainfall will be measured by this Siemens rain gauge. Okay, now we'll summarize the things how it is and all those things. This is will be at 8:30 or 7:30. Also the Siemens rain gauge gives only the total depth of the rainfall. कारण टोटल डेप्थ ऑफ द रेनफॉल का देणार आहे, कारण आपण सकाळी 8:30 ला रीडिंग घेतलं, वी हॅव मेजर्ड ऍट द 8:30 and then we have taken its reading say at the next day, it is the next day at the next 8:30 AM we can say. So in that case we can say that whatever the amount of the rainfall which has been occurred from 8:30 morning of yesterday to the 8:30 morning of today, that in between 24 hours whatever amount of the rainfall has been occurred, that amount of rainfall will be measured. That means we can say that it measures the daily rainfall. If we change the frequency for the 4 hours means to the 12:30, then it will be for a frequency of 4 hours likewise. Then it does not give the intensity and duration of the rainfall. It is not going to. Intensity means what, how much centimeters of the rainfall has been occurred in a hour. Okay, म्हणजे काय, जर का आपण तासाला किती पाऊस पडला, 10 मिनिटाला किती पाऊस पडला, 5 मिनिटाला किती पाऊस पडला, हे जर का आपण मेजरमेंट करू शकलो असतो तर त्या केसमध्ये आपण म्हटलं असतं की त्याने इंटेन्सिटी दिली. इंटेन्सिटी म्हणजे काय, टाइम सॉरी अमाउंट वर्सेस टाइम. Amount that rainfall is measured either in millimeters or centimeters, and as far as talking about the India, average rainfall is about 1265 millimeters round about. बरोबर, 1265 च्या दरम्यान आपला ऍव्हरेज रेनफॉल आहे. ऍव्हरेज, आय एम नॉट गेटिंग एक्झॅक्ट फिगर हिअर. ओके, मग तो आपला वर्षभराचा झाला, मीन्स दॅट इज अ क्युम्युलेटिव्ह रेनफॉल वी कॅन से. परंतु जर का आपण इंटेन्सिटी म्हटलं तर ती कशी असणार आहे, पर हावर, पर 2 hours, पर 4 hours एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. ती इंटेन्सिटी आपण मोजू शकत नाहीये. जर का मोजायची असेल तर आपल्याला बरोबर आपला इंटरवल चेंज करावा लागेल. परंतु इंटरवल चेंज करत असताना जर का आपण 8:30 ला मोजलं नंतर 9:30 ला मोजायचं म्हटलं आणि पाऊस सुरू असेल तर त्या केसमध्ये आपण मोजू शकणार नाहीये. मीन्स इफ द रेनफॉल इज कंटिन्युइंग, in that case it's so much difficult, because if you are going to measure means it will be required to take out that bottle outside if it has been completely filled and again reinsert in it. So in between that whatever the amount of rainfall is going to occur, it will not be get measured properly. Okay, so this is a drawback we can say. So it doesn't give the intensity and duration of the rainfall during the different time intervals of a day. म्हणजे आपण जर का सकाळी 8:30 ते उद्या संध्याकाळी 5:30 ला जर का मेजरमेंट करत असेल, म्हणजे 8:30 ते 5:30 च्या दरम्यान, तर त्या केसमध्ये 8:30 ते 9:30 किती पाऊस पडला किंवा 9:30 ते 10:30 किती पाऊस पडला याचं ऑब्झर्वेशन आपण याच्यावरून काढू शकणार नाहीये, बिकॉज इट कलेक्ट्स द रेनफॉल विच हॅज बीन अकर्ड फ्रॉम 8:30 AM to the 5:30 PM. Means it is going to give us an as a cumulative rainfall only. Okay, so this is about Siemens rain gauge, and its capacity as I have discussed in previous part, it's about 1.25 centimeters only. जी कॅपॅसिटी जी असणार आहे बॉटलची 1.25 सेंटीमीटर एवढी असते. मीन्स आफ्टर 1.25 सेंटीमीटर्स वी हॅव टू take out that water and we have to again replace, or we have to empty the bottle and we have to again reinsert it inside. So this is about the Siemens rain gauge. Now we will see that the automated rain gauges till 10 there. So automated rain gauges, in that first one is the tipping bucket rain gauge. So this is a schematic sketch of the tipping bucket rain gauge. This is its a stand, we can say, as like a tripod we can treat here in, and it used to have the further portions I will discuss in detail. So this mechanism, that is a bucket tipping bucket rain gauge, used to consist of funnel for the collecting the rainfall, which is kept at the top of the cylinder, which is that cylinder is held in the position by the stand here. This is cylinder, we can say, which is having outlet at the, is having the hole at its base through which we are going to collect the water outside. Then at the top of the same, there is a receiver, means there is a chamber, further extended portion we can say. Then below that there is a funnel. Funnel म्हणजे आपण त्याला मराठीमध्ये नाळकं असं म्हणतो. That funnel is to collect the water from this particular dimension of a 30 centimeter diameter, and then that through that it will be guided on the buckets. So below the funnel there is an arrangement of the two buckets. Two buckets are mounted, means they are at 180 degree to each other. Okay, two buckets are hinged at this shaft below the funnel at 180 degree to each other, and when that one bucket used to take the position exactly below the funnel, it used to get filled completely, and after filling it, it starts tipping below that. म्हणजे काय होणार, ह्या फनेल मधून पाणी पूर्णपणे कलेक्ट होणार, जेवढा पाऊस पडणार तेवढं ते पाणी त्या फनेलच्या खाली जे आपण अरेंजमेंट केलेली आहे, हॉरिझॉन्टल रॉड आहे, त्याच्यावरती दोन बकेट्स आपण अरेंज केलेले आहेत, त्याच्यावरती कनेक्ट केलेले आहेत. म्हणजे कंडिशन काय होणार की बरोबर एक बकेट ज्यावेळेस या फनेलच्या खाली असणार ते पूर्णपणे भरणार, भरल्यानंतर ना ते टिपकणार खाली, आणि ते ज्यावेळेस भरून वाहणार, म्हणजे आपल्या भाषेमध्ये टिपकणार म्हणजे वाहणार, त्यावेळेस काय होणार, बरोबर ते बकेट रोटेट होणार, म्हणजे खाली येणार, त्याच्यामधलं पाणी पूर्णपणे एम्प्टी होणार. ते एम्प्टी झालं की बरोबर दुसरं बकेट जे असणार ते बरोबर त्या फनेलच्या खाली येणार. म्हणजे ज्यावेळेस एक बकेट त्या फनेलच्या खाली असणार, रेनफॉल कलेक्ट करणार, त्यावेळेस दुसरं फनेल बरोबर एक्झॅक्टली अपोजिटला असणार, म्हणजे 180 डिग्रीला असणार, एम्प्टी कंडिशन मध्ये असणार. ज्यावेळेस हे पूर्णपणे भरणार त्यावेळेस ते टिपिंग व्हायला लागलं, म्हणजे टिपकायला लागलं की बरोबर काय होणार, मास डिफरन्समुळे ते रोटेट होणार. रोटेट झालं की ते खाली येणार आणि दुसरं जे एम्प्टी होतं ते बरोबर फनेलच्या खाली येणार, म्हणजे पोझिशन घेणार, आणि इट स्टार्ट्स कंटिन्युएशन. आणि याचं जे मेकॅनिझम आहे रोटेशनचं, ते रोटेशनचं मेकॅनिझम हे पुढे इलेक्ट्रिक सर्किट ऍक्च्युएट करतो, आणि ते इलेक्ट्रिक सर्किट ऍक्च्युएट केलं की बरोबर आपल्याला पुढे किती नंबर ऑफ बकेट्स भरल्या, एका बकेटची कॅपॅसिटी आपल्याला माहिती आहे, मग त्या एक रोटेशन झालं की बरोबर सर्किट ब्रेक होणार, आणि त्यानंतर ना बरोबर ते रेकॉर्डिंग डिव्हाइसला देऊन बरोबर आपण कंटिन्युअसली रेनफॉल तिथं रेकॉर्ड करतो. आणि जे काही इथून खाली पडणारं जे अमाऊंट आहे ते बरोबर खाली आपण मेजरिंग ट्यूब मध्ये किंवा एखाद्या जार मध्ये खाली आपण कलेक्ट करू शकतो. अँड दिस used to operate automatically because after filling a one bucket it used to exactly go in the 180 degree, it empties, and at the same time the another empty bucket used to take the position. म्हणजे हे continuously process सुरू राहते. So this is about a tipping bucket. We'll summarize the things about that. It consists of a cylindrical receiver. This is a cylindrical receiver having 30 centimeter diameter with a funnel inside. So 30 centimeter diameter is there, and which is having funnel inside it. Below the funnel there is a pair of buckets of 0.25 millimeter capacity, means each bucket used to have the capacity of a 0.25 millimeter. I have bold it. Okay, so each bucket is to have the capacity of the 0.25 millimeters, and they are exactly below the funnel. Okay, then the next mechanism, when the one of the bucket receives the rainfall about the 0.25 centimeters from the funnel, it tips and empties into the tank below the same, and at the same time the other bucket takes the position, and the process is repeated, or the process is continued. It means that after getting filled one bucket, it goes into 180 degree, it empties, and at the same time other buckets takes the position, and the process is to goes on repeating and repeating. circuit, and through which that electric circuit, it causes the pen to move on a chart wrapped around the drum. म्हणजे पुढे काय असते इथं दाखवलेलं नाही मेकॅनिझम. पुढच्या बाजूला काय असते, एक क्लॉक ड्रिव्हन मेकॅनिझम असते, आणि ऑन दॅट क्लॉक ड्रिव्हन मेकॅनिझम देर इज अ ड्रम. एक ड्रम असतो छोटा, त्या ड्रमला ते बरोबर घड्याळाप्रमाणे चालतो, रोटेट होतो. क्लॉक ड्रिव्हन मेकॅनिझम असतं. अँड ऑन दॅट देर इज अ पेन, त्याच्यावरती पेन लावलेला असतो, ज्या तो ड्रम तर कंटिन्युअस रोटेट होणार. जर का इथं आपलं बकेट भरत नसेल तर हे रोटेट होणार नाहीये. इफ दिस इज नॉट रोटेटेड, इलेक्ट्रिक सर्किट विल नॉट बी ऍक्च्युएटेड अँड पेन विल नॉट बी मूव्ह. म्हणजे पेन मूव्ह होणार नाहीये. म्हणजे काय होणार, त्या ड्रम वरती रिडिंग आपल्याला कॉन्स्टंट लाईन मिळणार. बट when it starts actuating, means when the buckets is to start the emptying, filling and emptying, in that case they start actuating electric circuit, and through that electric circuit mechanism, we can say the pen mechanism used to move over that wrapped chart, and through that wrapped chart we used to get the readings of the rainfall. It is that the tipping buckets, the bucket actuates the electric circuit, which causes a pen to move on a chart wrapped around the drum, which revolves by a clock mechanism. Okay, this is about an tipping bucket. This is it will not be it not utilized for the measurement of the snowfall, because when there is the snowfall, in that case the funnel will be get choked up, or the buckets will be get choked up. Likewise, due to the choking position, it is not utilized, or it is not best suited for the measurement of the snowfall, but it is best suited for the measurement of the rainfall. I will show that how that mechanism, that clock driven in all those things, in the next part. That is in a weighing bucket rain gauge. That is the next part of the automated rain gauge. So this is a weighing bucket rain gauge. Here this is the clock driven mechanism. This is the drum, रिव्हॉल्विंग ड्रम वी कॅन से, अँड दिस इज द चार्ट. म्हणजे आपला कसा ग्राफ असतो त्या पद्धतीने याच्यावरती हा चार्ट माउंट केलेला असतो. दिस इज द क्लॉक मेकॅनिझम. बऱ्याच वेळा काय असतं की चावीवरचं घड्याळ असतं, मीन्स इट इज रिक्वायर्ड टू हॅव अन गिव्हिंग द एनर्जी टू इट. बऱ्याच वेळा तुम्ही बघितलं असेल बघा चावीवरचं घड्याळ, त्याला चावी द्यावी लागते दररोज, डेली. Likewise, they used to happen. It was in the ancient days, but nowadays the things might be changed. So this is about that clock-driven mechanism. So talking about the weighing bucket mechanism, here we are finding that once again this is a cylindrical chamber. This is a receiving funnel, as like in a previous one. Then through the receiving funnel, there is a mechanism to have a bucket here. The bucket is kept here, and below the bucket there is a pan. In the pan, bucket is kept, and below the pan there is a spring balance, or the weighing balance we can say. इथं काय आहे, एक funnel आहे. Below that funnel there is a small bucket, or catching bucket we can say, and that bucket is kept over a pan, and that pan is kept over a spring balance. So when that some amount, means actuating amount of the rainfall used to appear or collect in the bucket, catching bucket, then spring actuates, and due to the actuation of the spring, this mechanism actuates. म्हणजे स्प्रिंग कॉम्प्रेस झालं की बरोबर काय होणार आहे, हा पार्ट खाली येणार. म्हणजे बरोबर काय होणार, ही जी निडल आपल्याला दिसते, पेन आपण म्हणतो त्याला, निडल इज नथिंग बट द पेन हियर. सो पेन actuates, it moves upward, downward, likewise, and already the drum is rotating. This drum is rotating because it is a clock driven mechanism. म्हणजे बघ घड्याळाप्रमाणे ते पुढे पुढे राउंड रोटेट होत आहे. सो इफ it is rotating with the clock, then with a further increase in the amount of rainfall has been received in the bucket, there will be the compression of the spring, and there will be the change in the position of the pen. And from that change in the position of the pen, initially it will be marked, or initially at the calibrated part it will be at the 0, it is indicating a 0. But when it will be get compressed, it will be moved further in upward direction or downward direction. Likewise, might be in upward direction, and it is going to show the fluctuating, or it is going to trace a line, and that line will be traced over the chart, and chart is rotating with our revolving drum. So it means that with some time interval, that is for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, we are getting the recording herein. So I would like to summarize herein for that. So in this type of rain gauge, when a certain weight of rainfall is collected in a tank which rests on a spring lever balance, It makes a pen to move on a chart wrapped around a clock-driven drum, and the rotation of the drum sets the time scale, while the vertical motion of the pen records the cumulative precipitation. So this is about the weighing bucket rain gauge, we can say. Okay, so we'll stop here and we will